You are watching Weird, a weekly live stream featuring survival horror, science fiction, and fantasy authors Alan Gamboa, Scott Baker, Rich Restucci, and Hadley Thorne. They get together to discuss, debate, and dissect the latest new movie releases, personal recommendations, and their week-by-week after viewing responses to a current streaming series. Like, follow, and subscribe to Weird Realities on all our social media at Linktree. That's linktr.ee/Weird Realities, and that's Weird with the Y. Be sure to check out our webpage and subscribe to our monthly newsletter where we highlight our partners, followers, weird kids, talk latest books releases, and more. That's at www.weirdrealities.net.
Happy Thursday, guys.
Hello, everyone.
Alan's on mute.
Tina likes
There
it.
he is. Tina likes him that way.
He muted himself again. You're back to mute. Nope, can't hear you. There it is.
There it is. All right, guys. I'm excited about this week. It's our launch for our countdown to Halloween, which is my favorite time of year. So I'm super excited to talk about this week's movies because vampires are my favorite.
Yes.
Vampires.
Blah, blah, blah.
We haven't seen any of that in a while. Actually, the last movie to do that would have been Transylvania, the cartoon. Without
yeah.
Paul, right?
Yeah.
We
Do
haven't
what?
heard Blah, blah, blah in a while.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, all right.
Sorry.
Owen Wilson's mom. She's got a little thing under her name. That's
I
cool.
do. I am Boo and Wilson's mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got Count Alucard here.
Yes.
Oh,
Do you know which Dracula, which horror movie that was from?
Blackula?
No.
Blackula 2?
Nope.
Blackula 3?
Son of Dracula with Lon Chaney Jr.
I'll be so sneaky.
43.
Well, I see Tony, Landa, and Mike are in the house.
Yep.
So I want to wait, see if we get a few more, and then we can ask our question of the week that the weirdlings have sent in.
You will all watch us. You all hit like. How's that? You think that'll work?
No, that was more Rastafarian than Bela Lugosi.
Now, maybe if you wore the Vampirella outfit, Alan, it might have been more effective.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. Here, let me.
Yeah.
I do not drink.
I have beside my desk the Carolyn Monroe Vampirella statue. I would love to have seen her do that movie.
Yeah.
I wonder why they canceled that one.
I don't know.
Not enough teenage boys buy tickets for it. What?
No. It would have been more than enough. Count Dracula.
You see, Mike saw what I was going for. I was going for Count
right.
anything.
Count Dracula.
Count Dracula.
All right. Well, it looks like it's just going to be the four of us for a little bit. So do y'all want to kick it off with Landa's question for Alan?
Yes.
No, what is the question?
Landa, would you like to ask? You posted something, and she posted it back.
Oh.
And you had pantsed someone.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That's right.
By accident, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yes.
It wasn't on purpose. Yeah.
Was it Charles Manson?
No.
Wishes.
Why did I pants that guy? Okay. Real quick, there was a vicious cell fight. It was bad, really bloody. And the guy was basically, we got the one guy, the assaulter, out of the cell, and we went in to get the guy that was hurt. There was blood everywhere. It was really bad. It was nasty. So we went to drag him out of the cell, pull him out of the cell to put him on a gurney. And it went, and we grabbed him by the jeans, and we pulled his jeans off, right off him. He wasn't wearing any underwear, and he was suffering from, sometimes you get priapism when you're dying, you know, and he had that.
What's that?
He had a
Oh,
big
boy. Let's explain priapism. Alan?
Well,
He had an erection. He was pointing north.
oh, was he dying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was. He died as soon as he got to the hospital. He was dead.
Oh, that's a bad
As soon,
beating.
well, as soon as they got him to the ambulance, actually, he was dead. And yeah, that was. We were trying not to giggle like a bunch of schoolboys when it happened because
There's a dying man in front of you with priapism.
yeah, with his pants off and saluting us all, and because when you in a situation like that, sometimes you get that's your reaction.
That nervous giggles.
Yeah.
I'm a giggler. I mean, worse, I'm the person that you do not want to get laughing in a bad situation because I won't be able to stop.
So
Yeah.
technically, he overcame himself.
Oh, there's a knee slapper there.
Oh,
Going to
it's gonna
hell.
be a long night. All right.
Oh yeah, I can feel the fires burning. I'm the ninth circle. I'm replacing Judas.
Okay, well, Mike Lewis had asked us about what was the meaning of life. So I would like to ask all of y'all what the meaning of life is to you.
Anyone?
42.
Okay, 42.
To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of the women.
Wow.
Okay,
That's what's best in life.
Alan.
The meaning of life is to eat as much candy corn and Peeps as you can before you die.
All right, somebody mute this asshole. Oh,
There's nothing wrong with one peep a year. I don't know. The meaning of life.
yes, there is.
The meaning of life to me would be to die happy and to die loved by family and friends.
I did not
Honorable.
see that
I
coming
like
out of
that.
you.
I like that. Honorable.
Scott, you amaze me.
Thank you. That's what
Bad
she said.
dad jokes, and then that.
Well, but you, Hadley.
When I figure it out, I'll let y'all know. I don't know.
Oh, come
I'm still
on.
working on it.
out.
That's a
She's
cop
had
out.
that question for days and she still hasn't figured it out.
I know. The three of us ponied up. It's
The
your
meaning
turn.
of life to her is to die being surrounded by 100 dogs licking her.
No, no, that's not it. I don't know. Like I said, I mean, I'll have to seriously think about it. Jennifer is trying to come on, guys. She said she's fighting with Facebook.
Did you see what Landon wrote?
Just
remember, if you're dying around me, wear suspenders and a belt.
Exactly. I won't have that problem anyway. So.
Let me tell you about the Brazilian wandering spider.
All right, kids. Well, so let's go ahead and get started. What movie do we want to start with?
How about?
Can I go? Can I go? Please, please,
Yes.
please.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
I got a video because y'all know that I'm so bad at these things. So I thought, I'm going to entertain everybody. So everybody sit back and get prepared for my very bad video.
What are you waiting for, Scott?
Yeah, I did. I laid back.
And here we go. So Hadley's pick of the week was vampires. And I really like this movie. It's a lot of fun. It's from the 90s. There's some stuff. Boo and Wilson watched it with me, so they're going to have their little tidbits in too. Wilson, what he liked the most was the vampire killers or vampire hunters, the mercenaries. That was his favorite. And let's see. I'm sorry, it's a little bit long. You're going to have to deal with it. I was thinking, yeah. What Boo liked about it was Valek. And y'all want to know why he liked Valek the best?
Why?
Can you guess? Can you guess?
No.
Because I met him.
Wow.
No, Rich, it was not. It was because Cobra Kai. See, there's Boo, there's Cobra Kai. Look, Alan, you
I
and
see
Boo.
that.
So, what did I like about it?
Yes, you did.
Well, I love Laura Palmer, Cheryl Lee's eye expressions and her facial expressions throughout the movie. She had maybe just a handful of lines, but she didn't need them. She's very expressive and she emoted all those feelings. The other thing I liked was Montoya's ultimate mesmerization by her, because he started off just hating her, and as she slowly turns into a vampire, he slowly falls for her. And that's the vampiric manipulation. And then she fucking killed him because he was a asshole. So, Boo wanted y'all to know that this movie came out the same year as Blade, and the priest guy was both in it and Blade. So, and that's what we have to say about that.
Well, I thought that was very well done.
Yes, I did not know they came out at the same time as Blade.
That was neat.
They think that that's why it got overlooked, was because Blade came out around the same time. So Blade got the press, but they had a lot of similar things. But I felt like, to be honest, I like Blade, but I'm gonna say that I felt like John Carpenter's Vampire probably had a better story. It was more in depth. It's based on a book, and I can't think of. I've got it written down.
It's called Vampires. I've read it.
Well,
Me too.
It's a good book, but the movie's loosely based on it.
it's
left out the
John
gunfire.
Stakely.
Stakely.
Basically. Yeah.
And John Carpenter initially, of course, wanted Kurt Russell to do it, but I think Kurt Russell was making Tombstone at the time. So he did not do it. It went through about 20 people before it ever got to James Woods, which, if y'all remember, around in the 80s and 90s, all James Woods played was like lawyers. And this was like his first breakout role to do something different. So he rolled into this character, and in some of the footage I found of him talking about it, he really loved playing this guy because it was such a step away from what he was used to. And he wasn't a bad guy, and he wasn't a lawyer. He got to be just the badass cool kid, and that got to wear the leather jacket and the shades, and that so wasn't his, stereotype that he'd been placed in. So it kind of, I won't say it was a breakout role for him, but it kind of broke him out of the mold he had been in for a while. And he went on, of course, to do a lot of different great things. The other thing is, this was a movie that John Carpenter made after his disappointment with Escape from LA, which really kind of put him in a bad spot because it got some negative reviews, and he kind of lost his luster for movie making, and John Carpenter's Vampires gave that back to him. And he'd always wanted to make a Western, so that was kind of the inspiration behind him making this movie, was he was making a vampire Western. And if you look at it, at the time, again, very different from the vampire movies we were seeing. Did you get wood, Padre?
Yes.
Mike? It had some great one-liners. But James Woods he chewed the curtains on it. I know some people feel like it didn't hold up. I've still enjoyed it because I like the story. And one of the things I really love about this movie in comparison to even modern day vampires that we're seeing is the way the vampires looked. Yeah. And this is just that cold, dead look. They didn't look like monsters. They weren't too pretty, but they just had this really supernatural, menacing vibe going on, which I really liked. And it, again, wasn't a lot of makeup. Thomas Ian Griffith, fingernails. He had 9 lines in the whole movie, and to me, he killed it. He was probably one of my favorite vampires that I've seen. Just the look of him was just perfect. And from the get-go, which I did want to ask y'all, and this is a spoiler if you haven't seen this movie, I'm sorry, guys. It was from 96. I think you should have seen it by now. The first kill in the movie is not the vampire kill, but the human kill. Was one of the mercenaries. Is he the same guy that drove the snowplow in 30 Days of Night?
Yes, okay. Mark Boone.
Yeah. He's in Sons of Anarchy too. He played Bob.
Well, I was doing the vampire connection, so I recognized him, and he was really a puppy back then, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So
so
that's enough about me. This is why I recommended this movie. It's like I said, it's one that I just love, and I'm interested to see what y'all think.
I think that's the most I've heard you gush on a movie in a long time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's my recommendation, Alan. I recommended it. That's why, because I like it.
All right, well, let's put
Sorry.
Alan on the hot spot. What did you think, Alan?
I went to the movies and saw this. I enjoyed it when I saw it. You know how I feel about Carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to make a vampire western called El Dorado. He had plans for that. He was writing one, and he just never came through. And that sounded like cool. I mean, a western, not a modern western, but a western with vampires. That would have been awesome, especially by Carpenter, because he gets these ideas. Bam! They blow your mind, and then it's like the Viagra wears off, and it's just the ideas just go. He's made my favorite movie, one of my favorite movies. But like this one, he just didn't follow through. It's dated. I wasn't offended by anything in it, but it's not a movie you could show to modern audiences. Just some of the language and the treatment of the Laura Palmer. I can't think of her name, but
Cheryl Lee.
Thank you. And Baldwin, he's never been a good actor, in my opinion. I think the one that played Barney Rubble, the Baldwin that plays Barney Rubble, is a better actor than he is. Anyway, James Woods, like you said, it knocked him out of the. I think he was doing movies where he was on cocaine and stuff like that too, back then, and it kicked him into action hero. Well,
yeah,
for a little bit. So I like his movie. I like James Woods movies. I like Carpenter. I liked it better when I first saw it. And I wish they expanded on the team, because that idea is so great, and you had a lot of good character actors playing, the vampire hunter teams, and they only had probably very few minutes of screen time, because you could recognize the guy, like the tall Indian, the Japanese guy, Kerry Tagawa. You've seen him in a lot of stuff, and Mark Boone. So it just, I don't know. I watched it again and I was disappointed. I did not love it. It was a good idea. And I read the book years ago, and they left out this major character, a gunslinger. There's a gunslinger that's in there. I think his name's Felix or something like that. And he's a great character, and they totally axed that character out of this movie. And that was the most Western part, was this gunslinger. So I don't know why Carpenter was like, ooh, my Western. But they left out the gunslinger, the ties, the tie to the Western, I'd watch this one again just because nostalgia. But I didn't like it as much as I had liked it back in the 90s when I watched it.
Did you not like it because of the way it portrayed the men and women?
No, it just wasn't that good.
See, I disagree. I mean, it did not hold up. Obviously, it was kind of campy. But going to at the beginning of the movie, they're very rough men. They're not nice. These are not nice people. These are bottom feeders.
They don't make you. They're not likable. So you don't really care what happened. I didn't care if James Woods lived or died.
Yeah.
I remember watching the Bon Jovi one, and now I'm thinking, oh, it's not that good. But now, after watching this one, I think they're probably almost neck and neck in quality.
Well, I actually watched the Siskel and Ebert review of this. I found it on YouTube and I watched it. And the skinny one liked it, and the other one said that it was like a guilty pleasure.
Oh, it is. I like it, but I don't love it. I don't love it. I would recommend it to people. Yeah, it's a fun movie. Especially at the beginning and I'm going to spoil alert. I'm sure everyone's seen this movie when they're ambushed in the hotel and the kills in there. Or, Bettina kept recognizing, oh, wait, she had her top on, now it's off. Wait, her top's on again, now it's off. Now her top's on again. And why didn't they just destroy the building, rip up the floor, and let them all burn instead of going inside, shooting everything,
because
You
there was
know?
no movie.
Yeah, I know. I didn't hate this movie.
I gotta go ahead.
Oh, that's it. That's it. I think I've done enough.
See, this is one of my top 3 vampire movies. This, along with Blade 2 and 30 Days of Night. Carpenter does have a reputation for making movies that fail at the box office and become cult classics.
Yeah.
This, Escape from New York, The Thing. I love this movie because it broke every tradition. The vampire hunters were mercenaries. They were, as you said, they were low life. They were, drinking, whoring, drugging, but they did their job perfectly. James Wood rocked it as the leader. I don't think anybody else, Kurt Russell, I don't think this movie would have been good.
It would have been different.
It would have been, it would have been. The vampires themselves were phenomenal. There was an underlying sex appeal about them. They weren't the monsters, but they all dressed in black, and they had that look and that walk, like the scene when they were all. And I love the fact there were no coffins. They all buried themselves in the ground and came out. And the fight scenes were phenomenal. I mean, when they had that final fight scene trying to get them out of the old jail cell, that was, I love that. Now, yes, some of it wouldn't hold up today, but they couldn't have treated the hooker nice, because if they did, it would have been out of character. These aren't nice guys. This isn't Dr. Van Helsing. These are mercenaries. This girl was a hooker. This girl was bit. This girl was going to turn, and they know they were going to have to kill her, and they were using her to get to Valek.
But maybe she had a heart of gold.
Well, but to them, she was, nothing more than an animal. The minute she got bit,
human,
she
exactly.
was expendable. She was trash.
And
that's how they treated her.
But she was going to turn anyways. So from their mindset, we're going to have to kill her anyways, but she's got that connection to him. I think the way they treated her fit the characterization of the vampire hunters in this one. So I don't see that as a downside. I see that as an upside. I think it's great. I think to me, it refreshed the vampire genre for the 1990s. And then they started falling back into the old, let's, have vampires that date teenage girls and glitter in the sun. And then you got 30 Days a Night, which kicked it up again. Yeah, no, this is one of my favorite vampire movies. I didn't get to watch it this time, but I've seen it so much I remember it. And Maximilian Schell as what a friggin' awesome role it was. I was so surprised they got him. And the Padre.
Yeah.
I mean, he started out as such an idiot in the beginning. And then, did you get Wood, Padre? So, Rich, what did you think?
Like Alan, I went to see this movie at the movie theater when it first came out. I couldn't wait to see this movie because the 90s were very hard for John Carpenter. He had, Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Escape from LA. They both bombed, even though Escape from New York it killed. Village of the Damned, In the Mouth of Madness. And he was just tanking. And all of a sudden, 96, 98 comes along, and there's this new vampire movie that I hear it's John Carpenter. I'm like, wow, I probably want to see this. And then I hear James Woods is in it, big James Woods fan. And I was like, well, there's this other vampire movie coming out called Blade. So I saw them both at the movie theater, and I do think I'm a superhero guy, so I do think Blade is. If I had to pick one to go with, I would go with Blade. That said, I really love John Carpenter's Vampires. It is one of my favorite vampire movies. The acting is over the top dumb. And I loved every second of it. I think James Woods he's just got that I don't give a shit attitude in this movie. And I think that one of the reasons that they treated the girl the way they treated her after she was bitten is because once she was bitten, she became a tool to them, and that was it. And they didn't need her per se, but she was helpful, so they kept her around like, some kind of horrible stray animal that they had picked up. To me, the vampires in this movie could have used a little bit more makeup. They could have used a little bit more work. They were scary. They were pretty funky, but I have the same problem with this vampire movie that I have with every other vampire movie. What is the one most important resource to a vampire?
Blood.
This is not a hard question. Exactly, it's blood. So why the hell do they spill it all over the place? You don't do that. Me as a vampire, I'm going in there with a napkin and a fork and like chopsticks and shit, and I'm going to eat the freaking people the way they should be eaten. I'm not going to spill my food all over the place. I'm a vampire. I'm not a pig.
Because they're like sharks. They're in a frenzy.
I mean, come on, though. They're refined and they're these tough-ass, big boy vampires. You don't spill your food all over the place. You're not licking it out of the sand.
Well, there was only like 1 or 2 scenes where they actually fed.
Right. And if you look at any one of the vampires, they were just covered in blood all over the place because they bite on the neck and it's all over the place. I mean, come on. Yeah,
these vampires were feral. They weren't the Dracula.
The masters weren't feral. The ferals were feral. The goons, they were controlled by the masters, but the masters had been vampires for hundreds of years. Especially Val. Like he was like 700 years old or something. Yeah. That said, that was my only real problem with this. But like you guys had touched on before, this is not a movie that could be played in the movie theaters now. Mm-hmm. They use words that would just immediately get this movie banned and destroyed and stuff like that. Words that we said in high school that were no big deal. You can't say now. And
what are these words?
You shouldn't say them now, but still.
You should tell me when we go off.
Yeah.
But it's in character though too.
No, it is, and that's the thing. That's exactly the thing.
Yeah, it is in character at the time. Yeah.
So let me ask y'all this. Did you catch, because I watched it on Netflix, and there was where it says graphic whatever. It was like graphic vampire murder or something. It was like vampire. It was like they had a woke note for you in case you were going to be offended by the vampire slaughter.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, really? Have we gotten to this point?
Well, I love it when they list like nudity, violence, sexual conduct, smoking.
Okay.
That's a big deal for some people.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is a movie that I thought it was good. It wasn't nearly as good as when I had seen it. I've seen it several times, but each time it gets a little bit more meh. And this time, I still, don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed it. It's still one of my favorite vampire movies. But it does hold up. It just wasn't as good as when I first saw it as a kid. And I thought it was going to be every bit as good this time because I haven't seen it in several years. And I was like, no, it was good. I enjoyed it.
This is a movie that you could remake today.
Oh, for certain.
Yeah.
The story, I mean, like the fact that the vampire he's not, it doesn't have the Dracula story in it. It's this vampire was created by the Catholic Church when they did a failed exorcism. And so that's interesting. That, I mean, like when I say that it has a better story than Blade, I don't mean I don't like Blade. I mean the story to it is very interesting, and that the church tried to cover it up, and that's why they got these mercenaries, and they tried everything, and this is where they're at now. And then you have the fact that the Catholic Church is, involved and corrupt, and it was just interesting. Like I said, it was very interesting, and I hate that it's hey Cecil Fletcher, my favorite, is in the house.
Hey, Cecil.
Buddy.
So
just offended everyone else.
Yep.
They know I love him too, but they know Cecil's my favorite. I don't ever get to see him.
So should we get Zack Snyder to remake it?
It'd be 18 hours long.
Oh, I don't know.
very-
Now
I'm-
that's
Don't hate on Zack Snyder, because I
I
mean,
love Zach.
No, I was just,
I was gonna say Rebel Moon is like, I'm so excited about Rebel Moon.
yeah. It
Dawn
looks
of
It's
the
good.
coming
Dead
out in
2004.
No, it's coming out this year. I have an alert on Netflix that it's going to be like December.
Wow. Merry Christmas to us.
I know.
So what do we give this, Hadley?
I'm going to give it a solid 4.
All right. I'm surprised. Scott?
This is one of the very few that I'm giving a 5.
Rich?
See, I want to give it a 4. I really do, because I enjoyed the movie. But I'm gonna give it a 3.8, just because it's not 4 worthy. But if you had asked me 10 years ago, I would have gotten a 5. So
Okay.
Mike
Well, you-
Lewis is giving it a 5.
nice.
I'd give it a 3.
Ramona's giving it a 3.5.
It's not the movie I remembered, you know?
I
Because
bet
I
if
know
John
I
Carpenter
really...
did the movie, you would. If it wasn't him, you would have given it a 4.
If it wasn't who?
John
Oh, John
Carpenter.
Carpenter. I love, you know, he always has these ideas, and it's cool. This sounds so freaking cool. And then 2/3 of the way through, you're like, oh, where's this going?
See, the difference might be you guys saw it in the theater when you were young. I didn't see this until like late 1990s on a DVD. So
Yeah.
Don't make excuses for them. Come on.
I think it overall ranked pretty well.
What, Mom? Yeah, it is. It is slipping, Mike. Definitely. So
All right. Landa, what do you give it? I want to know what Landa and Ash and his Max around. Who else in the house?
Max.
I know Jennifer has not seen this movie.
Ash gave it a 5.
Well, while we're waiting on Landa,
Landa, say it so.
she never
Landa,
saw.
you gotta watch this one. It's worth it.
Moving on. We're 32 minutes into Vampire. Damn.
Oh my goodness, we better get going. So, who wants to do Voyage of the Demeter?
Scott. Oh, not it.
Nope,
It's you,
that
Scott.
Oh, I'm doing Demeter?
Do it. Yeah.
Is it Demeter or Demeter?
I don't know. I heard it both ways.
All right. Last Voyage of the Demeter. I watched this movie twice. The first time I did not like it. Second time I was more interested in the movie. It's good. It's a fictionalized version of the sea voyage of Dracula in his coffin from Romania to England. It's very well done. The crew is brought on board. They're at the dock. They've got the people that are coming on. There's one group. It's a married young couple, and the African American assistant. But you find out
that's Dracula. That's Dracula the series.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
Dracula. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Hold
But
on. Let's just go ahead and do Dracula series then.
All right, you want me to do Dracula?
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah, just do
it.
Dracula
All right.
and Rich can do the Demeter.
Okay,
Demeter.
Dracula is, my opinion, a fantastic retelling of the Bram Stoker story. It begins with them interviewing, this nun is interviewing Jonathan Harker, the guy who went over in the book and the movie, who was the real estate agent who signed everything. And he's telling the story of how he met Dracula. How Dracula was turning him. And she's asking all of these questions. And you get a lot of flashbacks in the first 2 episodes. They basically take the story and modernize it. I don't want to go through the whole thing. You all know what Dracula the story is. They changed this up a little bit. I don't want to give away some of the details that surprised me the first time. I've seen it twice. I loved it both times. there is a deep sexual tension between Dracula and Van Helsing in this one. Dracula in this one, I can't think of the guy's name who plays him.
Claes Bang.
Claes Bang. He is probably the best Dracula I have ever seen.
He's great.
I agree.
Yeah, he is. He's dominant. He's got a sort of like a princely arrogance about them. He loves to toy with people. He doesn't give a shit. He's got a very warped sense of humor. He just does a very perfect job of it. I mean, he's like one of the best villains. You don't love him, but you love to hate him. Van Helsing in this is Van Helsing is played by a woman in this one, which is she does a fantastic job on it. And that's why I say there's this sexual tension. They banter back and forth. They're just constantly butting heads and outwitting each other. But you can see through the whole thing, there's just sort of this like, oh, the two of them would love to be together. It is a fantastic series. Well written, superbly acted, and it takes the basic story, but just tweaks it enough that you're like, oh, I want to watch this because it's not exactly like Bram Stoker's Dracula, but it still stays. And then the third episode takes place in current times, and it's bizarre, but it's really worth it. I think it's a great episode, a great series. It's only 3 episodes, an hour and a half each, but it's definitely worth it.
This one, the Claes Bang plays Dracula, evil, but with a sense of royalty, nobleness. He's really evil, though. He's one of the most evil Draculas I've seen. But yet, he comes all dressed up. His hair's, perfect. And when he tells that one lady, he says, she asks him if he can see himself in the mirror, and he goes, do I look like a guy that can't see himself in the mirror? And he's all, his hair's all nice and everything. The first 2 episodes are really good.
Yeah.
The one where they jump to nowadays, it wasn't as good. Not because of him, not because of her, but some of the other characters and the storylines they followed there. I thought it was it was like a rush to end it too. Mm-hmm. It seemed like. With that, especially with the time jump. This was written by the guys that did Sherlock and the new Doctor Who, the one with the Dr. Tennant or David Tennant.
Really?
It's written by those 2 guys. It's good, and like you said, I think this is one of the best Draculas. The way they portrayed it, so it's worth a watch on Netflix.
So, I saw it when it first came out. I don't remember when that was. It wasn't too long ago, a couple of years maybe.
Yeah.
And I thought it was good. It was all right. More meh than good. And I remember thinking exactly what you guys said, that the first bunch of it, I didn't remember that it was 3 episodes, but the first bunch of it was great when they were not in present times. And then when it got to now, it was just kind of everything went off the rails.
Yeah.
It just wasn't a good story anymore. But Scott said he liked the dynamic of the sexual tension between Dracula and Van Helsing. I see that's what took it away from me. Because he's supposed to be a cruel, sadistic bastard. And I'll have more on that later. And he was to everyone really but her. And she's the one that ultimately is supposed to kill him, and he knows this. And I don't think he was toying with her. I think he considered her something of a turnable love interest, a love interest that he could turn into someone that he wanted to be with, be it a vampire or a human or whatever. And that just really kind of ruined it for me. Because I want him, and I'll get back to this in a minute. I want him to be a dick, and he was. I want him to be a murderous, torturous son of a bitch, but not to her. I want him to be that with everyone. I want him to see humans as, second rate, and I think he does with everyone but her. The best Dracula I've ever seen is in that animated show Castlevania. Excuse me, which I just watched. I probably finished it a month ago. It's great. The whole show is fantastic. They don't hold back on the blood. There's gore everywhere. And Dracula he's trying to eliminate humans from the earth. And there's a war going on about that. It's really good. So watch that. That is way better than this show. I think I'm going to be the only one of us that just didn't like this. I shouldn't say didn't like it. It was just meh for me. It was eh. But again, I didn't watch it this past week because I had seen it before. But that dynamic between, I'm just going to hit it again, between Van Helsing and Dracula just killed it for me. Acting was great. He was a very decent Dracula. He played it well. But I'm not going to rate this one as high as you guys. What do you think, boss?
Well, let me just jump in one thing. I think the love interest part of it was a lot. I think Dracula saw her as the only opponent that he felt ever worthy of him. And that's why, I think that's why there was that tension between them. Yes, there was that underlying sexual tension, but I even think at one point in the series, he says, you were the best opponent I ever had. So that's just I got to watch Castlevania myself.
Hadley?
I think this was, the first 2 episodes were wonderful. It lost something at the third one for me when they jumped to the future. I like that they did it. That was an unexpected turn. I liked it. I did not like where the story went from there. It was just weird. It again kind of science fiction-y, and it just lost something in the translation. But I loved everything about the first 2. I love this is a Danish actor that plays Dracula, and he is not handsome, but there's a sex appeal there. And then at the same time, between him and Van Helsing, to me it was like watching a game of mental chess that you can't actually it's very hard to write. As writers, I'm sure y'all understand when I say it. You know it when you see it, but it's something that's so hard to just catch that. But that's, to me, what they were doing. It was a game of cat and mouse, but who's the cat and who's the mouse? And you just never knew. And I loved her. To me, she was the best thing about it. Well, it was a toss-up, but she was so unexpected. And so, she played it just right. She just played that part perfectly. And it really just captured something new. And with him, because y'all know I love Gary Oldman's portrayal of Dracula. And Rich, are you laughing at me, Rich?
No, because he was the best film adaptation Dracula as far as
I think you need to rewatch this. And I'm kind of disappointed that you didn't watch it, but because this is the second time I've watched it, and there were things that I caught that, to me, the way that he played it was very predatory.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say evil, but it was just, he just captured, there was no humanity in this person, and he captured that so well. And that was in everything he did. It was, again, it's not someone who's pining for Mina. He wanted to possess her, I think.
He let her go.
Well, to keep. Well, we're not going to. No spoilers. I'm not going to say that in case anybody hasn't seen it, because it's really well done. But again, it was more of a like possession. I mean, like he looked at people like we look at cats and dogs. You know, they were things to keep or things to, eat for supper. There was no, you might have an affection for one, but it wasn't like you would for a person. And he captured that. And with Gary Oldman, and I'm going to go back to, y'all know, I love me I've crossed oceans of times to find you. So in the Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman, it's all about the love affair. And there was not love. This is, again, is predatory action. It is all about he's playing games with people. He's a bored immortal who is looking for something to amuse him. And with Van Helsing, he's found something that he doesn't understand, and it intrigues him, and he wants to know more about that. And that, to me, is like I said, the cat and mouse of it all is about, I'm intrigued by this and I want to know more about it. I can see, this would be an interesting thing to do for a couple of 100 years. It wasn't about love to me. It was about that, the game. It was all about the game.
He had some good one-liners too. Like when those guys got away in the boat and she's telling him, well, those two guys, you didn't kill them guys. And he's like, well, you can't eat everybody.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's just great. But here's, Gary Oldman's Dracula, they had that one guy in there, hey, Dracula dude, you want Mina? You can't have her.
Keanu Reeves?
Yes.
Leave Keanu alone. Why is everybody hating on him lately?
I'm not hating on him. It's just he was so out of place in that movie.
There was more Ted.
Well, this guy was the guy that played Jonathan Harker in this. I think he did a really good job.
Yes, yeah, he did. And I love the fact that there was so many surprises in the movie. It's like, okay, wait, something's not right here, and then you find out why it's not right. I agree.
The gaslighting. The gaslighting with the baby. It's like, I hear the baby crying. There's no baby. What are you talking about? There's no baby. There was a baby.
And their version of the Voyage of the Demeter I like that. It wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad episode.
And it made it a really good pair up for this week because of the Voyage of the Demeter. So do we want to give our ratings?
Yeah. It's getting late. Let's give our ratings.
Okay.
Go ahead, Hadley.
I'm going to give it a 4. I enjoyed it.
Scott?
Except for that last episode, which I didn't watch again.
Yeah.
I've seen it before and I just couldn't do it. But I did enjoy it. And I'll watch it again.
Count?
I would have given this a 4.9. 4.9 for the first two, but because of the third episode, it goes down to about a 4.7.
Rich?
I'll give it a 3.5. I liked it. I wanted to see something different. And I understand that's on me, but still.
I'll give it a 4. That just because I'd rate it higher, but that last episode just kind of was not good.
And just so people know, this was a BBC production, which might be why that last one sucked.
Yeah, but they did a fantastic job on the first two. So.
BBC rocks with period pieces. They kill it with period pieces. Their modern stuff sucks.
I was like torn between, oh my God, this is friggin' insane, and oh my God, this is brilliant, when the lawyer shows up to get Dracula out of custody.
Yeah, that was good, and yet so you're like, this is so stupid, but
then I'm thinking,
probably happened.
That's what we would do today. Some lawyer would, oh, my client is innocent.
His vampires got rights.
Yeah.
Hey, what are we doing, Rodney?
So, Rich, it's your turn.
Oh, it is. So I guess we're doing the last voyage of the Demeter. So, if anyone has read Dracula, if you haven't read it, you really should. It was written in 1897 by a man named Bram Stoker. And this story, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, is what I always called it, but I guess it's the Demeter. It's a retelling or an adaptation of one of the chapters in the book called The Captain's Log. If you've read this, if you've read Dracula or you've seen umpteen other Dracula stories, then you know that the Demeter, when it reaches London, or actually it was a little bit north of London, it crashes up on the rocks because it's a ghost ship. So right there, you know, everyone on the boat's already dead. So that's not a spoiler, because no one on the boat should survive if they're trying to retell it. First thing you're going to notice when you go in this is that there's a little boy on the boat. There's also dogs or a dog on the boat. There are no survivors. I don't want to say no survivors in this telling. Kid's not going to make it. You know that going into it. So if that bugs you, just bug out right now. The dog is also not going to make it. So I'm clarifying that before we go in. It's pretty rough.
I want to clarify that Rich Restucci did not tell me this before I watched it.
Yeah, I may not have mentioned that. Yeah. Well, anyway, I don't know that I saw it before you, did I? Anyway, so this is an adaptation of that chapter in the book Dracula, and what the story is about is, it's literally the title nails it. It's a ship that's traveling from Romania to London carrying stuff and, cargo, and several boxes of the cargo come from these Romany people who deliver the boxes and say, good luck, that type of thing. This is one of the movies that I really don't want to wreck for anybody, so I don't want to give too much of the plot away. But basically, it goes down just how you think. Dracula isn't as strong as he needs to be. For whatever reason, he's been sleeping it off in his earth in one of these. It's basically his coffin, but it looks like a crate. Gets out. People start to go missing. They start to hear things and see things. It gets really scary. And basically this is a trapped movie. It's like Dawn of the Dead in the mall, because they can't get away. There's no place for them to go. One of them tries to take a lifeboat away, and you can see where that's going. I really enjoyed this movie. There was a lot about it that was excellent. There's some decent gore, but it's not really a gory film. This is more of a terror film. That said, one of the worst portions of this movie is the actual creature itself, himself. This movie would have been absolutely terrifying if you never saw Dracula. It would have been scary just to see a shadow with glowing eyes or something, anything they could do today. But they tried to make Dracula this weak little skinny creature, which I guess he would be if he hadn't fed in a while. But again, that gets sort of discounted as we get further into the film, and he sort of builds his strength as he murders people, as he eats them, and he drinks the blood. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody's heard of vampires before, so one of the crew members gets bitten but not killed, and we know what happens to people who get bitten by vampires and not killed. He starts to slowly lose his humanity and turn into a vampire. I shouldn't say slowly. It's only like a day. And the most terrifying aspect of the film is when that man, or that, almost vampire, is trying to hunt down the little boy and feed on him. That's very scary. Catch him, tie him out, bring him to the mast outside. Sun comes up, and you know what happens there. That was actually really cool. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. But again, they showed too much of the creature of Dracula, and it wasn't even remotely human. Didn't look human in any way. I'm sure everyone who wants to see this movie has seen the commercials for it, and it looks just like that. That said, I really like the movie, and I recommend it. I wouldn't skip it. It just came out. I think it just came to video on demand, stream video, like last week or something like that. So I highly recommend this, and I would definitely watch it. What did you guys think?
I agree with you on the vampire part. You know, it looked like Nosferatu, not as scary Nosferatu with wings. You know, they showed too much. You're right. That part, yeah. But the acting, the creep factor and everything, and the storyline was pretty good. And it's got Liam Cunningham in it.
Yeah.
You know, I'll watch anything. You know,
The Onion Knight.
Yep.
The Onion Knight from Game of Thrones, the bad guy in Dog Soldiers. He's in everything. And you had Corey Hawkins is kind of like the lead. He was in The Walking Dead, a couple seasons of The Walking Dead. And then it had his mate was David Dastmalchian. I'm killing his name. But he played Dot Man in the second Suicide Squad movie. You know, the guy that throw the dots and stuff. Yeah. And he's not even recognizable. I mean, he's like
he's an Ant-Man.
Yeah.
He's the Ukrainian guy in Ant-Man.
Yeah, he's Butch in this, you know. So yeah, it's a good movie. It's not making money right now. It's not making its budget back yet. See it if you can, folks. It's a good flick. Anybody else?
Scott?
All right. No, I agree with both of you. I think it would have been better if they didn't show the vampire as much at the very end. If they kept like the original The Thing from Another World. You just got the glimpses of it. I agree with Alan, you know, the hunting down, the being trapped on the ship. The characters, I saw a lot of criticism that the characters weren't well developed. Some weren't, most of them were. You really started to feel for them and start to relate to them. I think the ending, the first time I saw it, I hated the ending. Then when I rewatched it, I thought to myself, no, damn it, that is a really good ending. One thing I noticed that when I was watching the Dracula series, the captain of the Demeter was called Sokolov. And the Demeter, he was called Elliot. And so I looked it up. His name in the book was Vana. So I don't know why they didn't keep the name the same, but
Elliot.
But it was good. It's worth a watch. It's not going to be your favorite vampire movie, but it's a great Saturday night flick.
Yeah. Hadley?
I was really looking forward to this, and I'm not going to say it disappointed me because I was entertained the entire time. It was a wild ride. I enjoyed it. But in hindsight, there was some things I had a little bit of trouble with. Number one, I don't like I like the mystique and the mysteriousness and the whole supernatural elements of the vampire. And to me, part of what makes them so creepy is that they're the dead, you know. And this did not ever look human, which was part of the problem for me is, you know, when we had the Dracula series, you know, he would put on his human facade and go and play with his food.
Yeah.
And there was none of that in this. It was just the creepy monster on board. And it was a very feral creature, the way it ripped apart the animals that were on board. It was, like I said, it was more like a zombie ghoul kind of thing than a vampire, I felt. But to me, there were parts of it that were terrifying. But again, I love a ghost ship story. They are the most frightening things to me. So that's an element of this I really enjoyed. So I'd say definitely, if vampires are your thing, if ghost ships are your thing, if you like crazy, scary stuff, this is definitely one to watch. It's a good time of year to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you like the romance of a vampire, skip it because there's none of that.
I did like the ending. The ending was kind of neat. Reminded me of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Yeah.
No way.
Well, you know, that was the thing I was worried about. Was like when they did the prequel to the thing, they screwed up the storyline so badly. they didn't screw up the storyline with this.
Yeah.
So you can see how the rest of the movie, like the Coleman movie, Oldman movie, or the novel would go.
The thing that I felt like they screwed up on this one was the girl. That
Yeah,
and again, I mean, I realize it's a sign of the times that we have to have our powerful, empowered woman, but again, it just kind of did not make sense. You know, all of a sudden there she is with a gun. You know, I get that.
but
I mean, again, it just didn't sync with the times.
it didn't sync with me, but at least they didn't have a love story between her and the main character.
Yeah, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was good. So, what do you rate it?
Hadley?
Well, I'm gonna say I'll give it a 4.
Rich?
I give it a solid 4 too. I think with the level of acting and the truth factor that they could have had in this movie if they didn't show the creature, this actually might have been Oscar worthy. It was that good. But because they showed the creature like that, and of course the CGI thing, it just took a little bit away. So I'm gonna give it a 4.
Scott?
I'm going to give it a 3.5, but I don't think it was CGI. I mean, I saw that they actually used an actor and put him through hours of makeup.
Well, they did, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't flying.
Well, no, that he was. You never know with all those little wires.
That's what caught me.
Yeah.
He was a
But
vampire.
yeah, 3.5.
I'm going to go with you, Scott, 3.5. And for reasons that, Rich said, it just too much of the monster sometimes is not a good thing.
No, the only thing I needed to hear was the bat wings in the air.
Yeah,
That would scare me.
That was way scarier than seeing the creature.
That and when you saw him in the fog, you just saw the outline.
That's what I was talking about. Exactly. Yeah. The shadow, you see him distance in the fog, some glowing eyes, that kind of crap. That's what they needed.
Yeah.
Do it like Alien did, They didn't really show it till near the end.
Right.
Yeah.
And this movie went from everybody's nervous to everybody's scared to everybody's holy shit, this thing is actually going to kill all of us.
Yeah.
That was really scary. And it's just another trapped movie. They can't get away from it.
Like I said, too much of the monster is a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's what she said. Anyway. All that for that.
So we're done.
All right. So, Special Ops Lioness season finale. Who watched it?
I watched it.
Oh, I haven't yet.
Oh, yeah.
It was the season finale, but I watched it.
Yeah, they had eight episodes, and that was number 8.
Oh.
I'm going to watch it only because I sat through the first 7, but I'm expecting it to be as stupid as the first 7.
It's worse.
Oh.
That's what
I don't
I'd
know.
say.
I don't know where they're going with this.
That's why I thought there was more, but I do remember. I think Max said that there were only 8 episodes.
Yeah, that was it. That was
yeah. Now that I think of it, that was the 8th episode, but there's definitely more that could be.
I was let down.
Yeah, it's a decent series. There's a lot of action. Lioness is a badass, but her dynamic with her boss is always Saldana, not so great.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's worth watching, man. It really is.
It really is.
Just the end episode wasn't that great.
I felt like that was a flawed plan from the beginning. When I saw them rolling up on their yacht, I was just like, no one's going to notice that. You're the only one out there.
Don't tell me. I haven't seen it.
But the part where they set off the nuke.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be good.
I can't believe she smuggled that in that way.
All right.
That was just...
And I didn't know the mother was going to be the killer.
I know.
Yeah.
Vampire shows up in this too, Scott. So
yeah.
Zombies
on the boat. Watch out. All right, kids. So Scott didn't watch it, but what did y'all give it?
3.5.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3.5 too.
Oh man, y'all are being nicer than me. I'm going down to a 3. I was let down.
Yeah. No, I get that.
The show's really good. The thing I like about it is, again, the team dynamics, and they didn't really spend a lot of time with that this episode. Since Scott didn't watch it, I won't spoil it for him, but he should have watched it.
I'm going to. I just didn't think we were doing it tonight. I thought we were going to finish it next week.
No, we're gonna finish it, and we'll have another horror one next week.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Horror or horrible?
We'll decide this after we get off.
I'm sorry. For those of you that didn't watch the previous shows, it is so absurd from a CIA perspective. I can't even, comedy CIA movies like with The Rock rang more true than this one.
I don't know. I wasn't in the CIA, but I enjoyed it up until this last episode. So,
Okay.
Anyway, kids, that we're going a little bit over, so we wrap that up kind of quick. Anything you want to say about the show, boys?
No.
I'm good.
Okay. And next week it is Scott's turn to pick. Is that right, or Alan's?
I think it's mine.
I think it's your
What's the movie we've already picked for next week?
Well, I sent y'all something with it on there.
Look it up.
You need to know this. We're just minions.
I'm not a secretary.
No, you're the boss.
That's why y'all should keep up with it, not me.
Yeah,
All right, we'll figure it out.
But, okay, so it's Scott's turn to pick, but I think we do have a list somewhere. We posted it online, but we will announce later, and we'll pick a series to go with it. So until next time, y'all know what to do.
Press that button.
Weird.
Love you guys.
Night, guys.
Good night.